endangering the life of a human being myself, Mr. Kevin Clark, Dr. Randy McDonald of Toronto Community Housing, Ted Kruchek, a very and the fire marshal from Toronto Fire. Corruption and conspiracy and obstruction of justice. These charges we expect to be laid against these individuals for ordering this dog, Hennessy, the founder of the Toronto World Peace Movement, seeking to make Donald Trump abide by the words he speaks, which is to make America good again. Make America great. The only way Donald Trump can make America great will where Donald Trump will become the greatest president in the history of America. Because no president in the history of America has ever brokered world peace. And this is what we look to inspire Donald Trump to do. Make America great. Because those are the words you speak. And if he does not abide by those words, then you spoke false words to become president of the United States of America. We will get back to that another time. But let's speak about the attempt murder of this animal and myself by the individuals mentioned below. On March 30th, 9 days after my birthday, an individual named Paul Keaton, who used to work for the Toronto Police, go to jail and all these, was an individual who I saw in the lobby at 4301 Kingston Road. Keaton, I'm almost so I knew something was wrong with Keaton. So, wait, what's wrong? Keaton said, my common law wife of 30 plus years died on the 21st floor, 4301 Kingston Road. After her death, the constables came in and told me I have to leave right away because I was not on the lease. So he is now homeless. Being a homeless activist, I told Keaton if he needs a place to stay, for him to call me at my number at this time. He did. When he called, I was busy, so I don't call back at this time again. Keaton did call back again. So when Keaton called back the next time, I knew that this individual was in need. So I told him when I would be at the building, that I would give him a place to lay his head and to help him find a house. So I gave Keaton the room, the bedroom, and he took care of my two cats in there, and I ended up in the living room. At that period of time, I did not have anything until I went up to a unit in Toronto Community Housing where there was Toronto Community Housing and a disabled person and another person living in a two-bedroom unit with 49 cats. Now, so every single 4 or 5 times a week, Toronto Community Housing would send me 24 hours to go into my unit. So naturally, they would have sent a large amount of 24-hour notices to these tenants. 49 cats in a two-bedroom unit, and Toronto Community Housing let that happen. But when I had big animals, they came down on me. For the past 5 years at 4301 Kingston Road, I've advocated to get a new basketball court, which they got. I advocated to fix the pool. I advocated to fix the child care center. I advocated to get them a dog park. I advocated for them to put numbers on the parking lot. I advocated to fix a banister that was busted. I advocated for new tiles, for tiles instead of carpet, because the carpets was stinking as hell because 50-year-old. Day by day, every day, even in sick hell, I go up and down all 21st floor. And I documented all the issues and made a large amount of reports. We even got a property standard order against Toronto Community Housing. What did Toronto Community Housing do? In my campaign to fix Toronto housing, to make it fit for children to grow, play, and prosper, They attacked me every single step of the way. They sent alcoholics, drug addicts to my door. You will see within that Scott T. Lloyd, who is not even a tenant, came and threatened to kill me, to murder me. Every single day. The more results we get in cleaning up this building, the more management of Toronto Community Housing attack me, attack me, attack me, attack me. But we got results. All this, you can confirm by Googling 4301 Kingston Road. When Scott T. Loudon again Caucasians vowed to murder me and stop me from doing this because they like it the way it is. How many hours time we call constable from housing? If Larry and his friends called them, within 5-10 minutes, they would be there to try and threaten me to intimidate me. I call them, sometimes it'll take 3-4 days for them to even show up, or they don't show up at all. So, on the 30th of March, Keaton brought this dog and it seemed that I arrested him from an abuse. This dog was almost dead. The dog couldn't even walk. Everyone thought she had arthritis. A tenant on the 7th floor who loved dog named Shannon confirmed that her daughter cut the dog's nail, washed the dog. The big bump was on the dog's head here. Everyone thought it was the most deformed dog. Now, Innes alive and well. And I've gone through hell with this dog. Snowstorms, rainstorms, gone through even her farting in a tent where we only had one blanket. So let's get to the point. On the 30th, and this all can be confirmed by school teacher Mario Greco from Vaughan, who is my successor, who has done excellent work in our homeless and our feet up, our children's unified friendship, our pizza party, our children's garden of hope, which we put together for this going. So, their question, Keaton wanted the dog. And when Keaton was coming back with the dog to my unit at 9:07, I was just going to see a friend. According to information received by Mario Greco of Vaughan Woodbridge, at 2:44 p.m., Paul Keaton left my unit. Now, at around 2:45, just when Keaton left, I could be here singing, coming back to my unit. So when I came back to the unit, on the way, I had knocked on unit 913. It's a very nice Trinity lady. I asked her if she's cooking, if she had food, because I was hungry. And I didn't have facilities to cook. So when I came back, the door knocked again. And it was her bringing me a plate of food. So very good food, excellent, and I started eating. After I was finished eating my fill, I started typing out on my Mac about Premier Doug Ford, about Olivia Chow, the Supreme Court of Canada, and all this detail. Took me about 8 to 10 minutes. Then I felt for a cigarette. So I got up from the computer to the living room, light my cigarette, and I had to go urinate, so walking towards the bathroom. Now, where I'm filming from another unit by Toronto Community Housing that went extensive fire due to faulty electrical. These are the electrical outlets, no current. And the amount of time Toronto Community Housing has come into these units, these are the electricals. So we're going to summarize what happened, and then we're going to go through and let you know. So at, I think it was 2:56 according to Mr. Greco, after I went towards the bathroom, the cigarette saved my life. I was on the way to the bathroom. After I blew out the cigarette, and as you can see, there's a smoke detector in this unit where I'm at, where this fire was, in Toronto Community House. Yes, so when I came to the bathroom, somehow the smoke detector was on. I finished my cigarette, walked into the bathroom, and put out the cigarette. Then I walked back to the living room, And to the left, there was a CD case. So I grabbed the CD, walked back, found smoke detector. No smoke. No alarm. Everything was good. Till walking towards the door, I smelled something. Either rubber burning or burnt electrical. So I went towards the kitchen, looked towards the stove, and I will show you the condition of the stove in Toronto community. These are the tenants. So, nothing was on the stove. I looked towards the desk where I was at. Nothing. And then I realized, Paul's room. So, we're going to close this door and try this. So, I knocked the door. Paul! No. Paul! No response. When I opened the door, oh, phew! A humongous gush of smoke came, stifling. I could not get into the room. So while I'm trying to, Paul, I'm screaming. No hands. Paul! No hands. So I tried to get in. The smoke was too much into the corner over there. A spark. That is where there was a faulty electrical outlet. That's this. That's where the spark came from. Paul, I screamed, Paul. No response. I come. Suddenly smoke started bellowing right through the hallway. I go towards the door. Smoke's hitting me. And I ran to the door, opened the door, and right beside my door, I pressed the fire. Then I knew the extinguisher box. When I down, grabbed the extinguisher box, and then I went towards the door. The extinguisher won't open. So I ran to the fire door exit. Bang on the extinguisher, bang, 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 bang. Finally, a puff of the white stuff came out of it. So I ran back towards the door. Paul! And the gush of smoke was hitting me. I pushed at it, but it was not a fire, it was all smoke. So I'm screaming, Paul! That time the smoke hit me so bad. And I saw the Hennessy out. Hennessy with no reason came out. We went through the exit door. Then we went down towards the stairs and we went to the next floor, down to the 7th, to hit my friend Andre didn't answer. So I went to Shannon. Shannon, I guess Paul's dead. Look at the fire. Can you call a number for me? And she called me. Mary, you gotta get down here. Paul's dead. My place is on fire. Ran through, ran downstairs. Where is the fireman? Where's the fireman? No fireman. Ran back, tried to get up the stairs, but Annie's 13 years old. She couldn't make it up, so I went back down. She said, where is the fireman? Where is the fireman? No fireman came. So in turn, I came back. Oh my God. I've got the fire extinguisher thing just still in my hand. Finally, the fire showed up. I said, get in here, there's a fire. They tried to open up the panel. They said, there's no keys. I said, there's a fire, there's somebody in the room. They finally come, take the elevator, they can't go to 9, they go to the 7th floor. When we get up there, I tried to go to 9, they wouldn't let me go. And then I had to go back downstairs, totally stifled with smoke inhalation. Cannot breathe. Police finally showed up, and the first thought of the police was to try and yank the smoke detector, that thing there, the fire extinguisher out of my hands. I said, no, I hold on to it. So, finally, So I said, so I said, there's a van outside the bus for anyone who needs help. And then we came, I said, I need to find Paul's body. Fireman said there was no body in the fire. So what do you mean there was nobody? Paul was in the room. Yet nobody was in there. So that's impossible. Then suddenly, who came up the laneway? You can see on the camera in the front lobby. Paul. Says, Paul, you're alive. And then Paul says he went up to get cigarette butts, which he does regularly. So I told Paul that. At that point, Paul started, he says, well, I said, the fire was isolated just in your room. And he says, well, I maybe my cell phone. I listened to the battery. He says, I left my cell phone plugged into a socket, and you can faulty. And that is most likely what caused the fire. So he claimed that most likely that the cell phone and the negligence of the wiring off Toronto Community Housing led to the lithium battery blowing up. And we get the room door, and why is there? Cats. I asked the fireman about my cats. So there was cats in it. I said, yeah, my 2 cats were in that room. So they'll go up and check. It hurts me as hell right now just to think about it, because after the actions of the Toronto Police, Brandon McDonald and Toronto Community Housing, harder than me and my animal, homeless in freezing cold weather with no clothes on and without a leash, this animal here. I have not been able to mourn my 2 loved ones. It's the wonderful and missed cats who had 4 litters together, and they are my family, my baby. Because I've been too busy trying to stay alive. From Toronto Community Housing Representative Brandon McDonald, Toronto Police, and the Fire Marshal, trying to accuse me of a most heinous act with 0 possibility and no motive. So Paul went to and stayed again to the police. So at that point, we went across the street. Someone talked to us, a constable named DeAngelis. DeAngelis said they're going to be trying to get me a different apartment until they're able to deal with it. So we went back to the bus, and we sat on the bus. And then finally, Mr. Greco showed up. We went across the street to Akari's mom, who always feeds us. I still have no shoes on. I still have just a pair of ripped up pants. I'm freezing cold as hell. And Akari's gave us some food. When the police came and spoke to me, I told them exactly what I just said in the video. So while we were going back to the front lobby, a colored police officer approached me and says, Kevin, hey, can I get a statement off you? I said, sure. He said, let's go to the police car. I said, no, let's go to the bus. He said, come to the police car, you'll be more comfortable, and we can take your statement. I said, listen, I'm the most wrongfully arrested person in the history of the city. I'm not going to voluntarily go into a police car when I did nothing wrong and commit no crime. He said, what do you want to statement off you? So at that point, I said, no, let's go to the bus and do it. He looks at Paul and Mary is standing there, and he says, okay, Paul, give your food to one of these guys. I said, no, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. So he grabbed the food in my hand, he gave it to Paul. And he said, okay, give the dog to one of your friends there. I said, what? Why? He yanked the leash off, and he gave it to him and says, okay, put your hands behind your back. So why? He says, you're under arrest. Under arrest for what? For arson. Say what? Arson? I'm shocked. Put handcuffs on me. I said, arson for what? He said, you said you lit a cigarette. So allegedly, me lit a cigarette in the living room while the bedroom is burning down or smoke filled with no sensors giving any notice. That is considered arson. According to them, by me lighting the cigarette, somehow lighting that cigarette, they created a cyber force that led to where it went through the closed door in the bedroom and activated an electrical fire that created so much smoke, and I'm still suffering from smoke inhalation, that it killed me and this animal. And in turn, they took me back down to the police car. I said, use the bathroom. Nope, I had to use the bathroom. They wouldn't let me use the I said, I also need medical attention. I can't breathe. Would not let me get smoke and get medical attention for the smoke inhalation. Extreme amount. Would not let me, and I was hungry, and would not let me take a poo to where all the feces came shooting out of my bum as I was by the copper door. When I tried to say, hey, I started screaming at people, are you going to let them do this to me? Are you going to let them? I saved your life. I am the one who pressed the fire alarm. I am the one who was in the fire. This dog was in the fire. I was there. Mariel. And I started to yank my head down forcibly. And while he was doing that, all this feces came out of my bum. The little pants had so much rip, it fell right down to the right side of the cop car. They shoved me in the back of the cop car and tell me, well, we're going to read, every time they were reading my rights, I says, you don't have the right to break the law. You don't have the right to do this. Because I took the police to court, because I took Allison to court, because I vowed to fix it, you now decide you're going to arrest me, the victim, the one who was in the fire. And I started screaming. Every time she went to read the rights, I said, no. So when they started doing all these things and everything, I had to pee, so I had to pee in the police car. So while we were there, the cop came by, and her and her partner keep stepping in something. While we're in the cop car, she keeps saying, what's that smell? What is this? What is that? Turns out all the feces that came out of my bum, she and her partner keep stepping in it. So when they realized it was feces, they were all by this water puddle trying to watch. What is it? What's this brown stuff all over their shoes? So at least I got a little humor seeing that. Okay? And then the urine and the feces coming out of my bum all in the vehicle. So finally they started talking about taking the dog. And as I said, this is another unit that went through the same issue. We were in lithium battery, and it was plugged into charging this outlet that burned down this unit. The reason we're filming from this location is because after the arrest, falsely and all this, the police have banned me from going back to the unit and from going within 500 meters. And if I'm allowed to go back once, but when I go back, I am not allowed to take photos and videos, which means the only reason the police and housing would not want someone to take photos and videos of a scene they allege is a crime scene with the victim and the alleged accused is because they knew that what I stated was right. So as we go through it, they say, okay, Kevin, you know what we can do? We can give you a form and release you right now. But you have to agree not to go back to the building. And you know what, Kevin? Your dog won't go to animal services and you'll get to keep the dog. She's 13 years old, and they already told me that they'll put her down if, because of her health conditions. So I said, yeah, and I get to keep the animal. Found out they said I was charged for endangering animal and endangering human. When we found out that Paul was in the fire, and I was the only human. So I'm charged for endangering myself by running into a fire to save this dog, and endangering myself by running to press a fire alarm and saving everybody's life in the building or saving their housing, and endangering animal. But yet they released me on a form 10. Gave me the animal so that it would go beyond the 500-meter boundary. There's two other things that happened. Clear police abuse. We'll add that later on. We went up to a place beyond the 500 meter, to a place that was all fenced, it was all busted down. I fastened them all up, fixed them all up, so that NC had a place to roll and sleep. We sat there for a bit in freezing cold weather and snowstorm. Suddenly, one day, 3 or 4 cop cars show up, tell us we have to leave anyway. So why? We're not causing they disturb me, so on and so on. Well, the owner don't want. So what do you mean the owner don't want? Turns out, I said, well, we can't. I said, how do you know what the owner is? And then there was a fire crate that was on the property. I said, that's public property. They said, well, we contacted the owner. We found a number on the fence. We called the fence company, and we got the owner's number. And the owner, we can speak to him now. We told him you were here, and that we don't want you here. So the owner has been told to tell you to leave. And if you don't leave now, we're going to arrest you. So I took all my position, put it on the public side of the street. When I put it on the public side of the street, well, it was all good. Except when I started bringing attention to the corruption and the illegal arrest and all this stuff, again, the police bring 5 or 6 cop cars, made a false statement with the city saying we were camping. When we were not camping, we had a tent set up because there was snowstorm, rainstorm, and windstorm, and we were looking to save our lives. And the police impeded our attempt to save our lives by, in turn, forcing us out, bringing the city. Then the city said they'll get us into a shop. They spent $100 and something, drove us all the way down the lake. We end up in a basement, in a boiler room, with over 200 men in 3 separate rooms with in one place, 3 separate outlets. In one place, the maximum capacity is 14 beds. They had 21 beds. The other one, the maximum capacity was 19 beds. They had 27 beds. Another one, the maximum capacity was, I think, 28, and they had 37 beds. In turn, there was 0 windows that opened, 0 doors that opened. In turn, I could not breathe. And the dog, they said they took an animal, had to stay in a cage 4 hours a day, maximum, was not allowed to go anywhere else in the property. And you have to walk the dog and then put the dog back right in the cage. This thing is in a cage to where we can't. I can't breathe. Every morning I wake up, I think I'm going to die. So totally stuffed up. And it turned out there's one bathroom with 4 stalls, and those stalls are normally occupied by people doing what the city encouraged them to do and Homes for Society encouraged them to do, which is to smoke fentanyl, to do hard drugs, and they supply them the equipment to do the hard drugs, and the majority of the staff are female. They are allowed into the men's bathroom, and when people are passed out in the stalls, all they do is say, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And then they walk away. They are allowed to have females in male bathrooms. They are allowed to have people do drugs, passed out, and the bathroom door stays open 24 hours right through, so all the fentanyl smoke is going right out into the dorms, into a boiler room with over 77 beds. 77 beds in a boiler room with no windows, no doors that's left open, with no ventilation, and a smoke area and a general area where we and my animal are endangering fentanyl. Fentanyl smoke. And all different types of drug smoke. We have other videos of that. Then the police try and Brandon McDonald, who did nothing to try and get into the house. We contact her, a temporary house. She told me that I don't have insurance, so they will not temporarily house me. And it turns out that for faulty electrical and community housing, I, the tenant, is responsible to put insurance on the electrical of Toronto Community Housing Property. I am responsible for putting insurance on the plumbing of Toronto Community Housing. That is the explanation they give us. And they make an appointment for us to go, get some possessions. I can only go once. But then here's the key. You can't take no photos, no videos. I am the victim, the one who went into the fire. But yet I'm the one who's falsely accused of an heinous crime of arson. And you know it's a false crime allegation because there's also 2 other charges in it: negligence and mischief. Arson is a deliberate act. There cannot be no negligence or mischief charges in association with arson unless it's fake charges you're drumming up so you can file a false accusation so the police can end up forbidding you from going in there and showing that it was this that caused the fire. This is how the outlet was. This is how the outlet was in the house. And this is how the fire was started. Toronto Community Housing is trying to say, this is the outlet in Toronto Community Housing. When you go through, these are the type of outlets that are in Toronto Community Housing that led to the fire that nearly killed me and my animals and killed my 2 pets, Mr. Wonderful and Miss Cat. And for the past, since March 30th, I have been left homeless on the streets. These are the outlets of Toronto Community House. Left homeless, left to die, because Toronto Community House says they had to get rid of me. I had to get rid of me. So they end up with the police and the fire marshal collaborating to falsely accuse me of a crime they knew it was impossible for me to have committed, because at that time I just ran for provincial member of parliament and I was seeking my nomination papers to be filled out to run for federal member of parliament. I was in the Supreme Court of Canada contesting the appointment of Olivia Chow to the office to run the mayor as a controversial election. 7-time mayoral candidate, 10-time provincial, 5-time federal, broke the largest children's rights case in Canadian history, the only person to have faced 3 levels of government simultaneously, and who is currently seeking a member of parliament office in Toronto Police, says that within 2 hours, from 2:56 when the fire started till about 5-something, Mr. Greco will tell you, they did an arson investigation, a police investigation, and deemed that me smoking a cigarette in the living room caused a fire in the bedroom that was all full of smoke where the room was closed. And even though Keaton stated to him clearly that he may have been the one who left the lithium battery plugged in, and if there's any allegations, that was the room the fire started in, the room the fire was in, where the Caucasian Keaton was staying in. But yet, if there was any possibility of these being true, would it not have been Keaton who you arrest? Not the person who was there. Keaton left 10 minutes before the fire. Clark was in the living room in the fire. But yet you arrested Clark because Clark was the one who was rallying the people and the one who vowed to fix Toronto Community Housing and the one who had the police in Superior Court, Toronto Community Housing, Human Rights Commission. And it turns out we aren't even allowed to get the fire marshal report. We're not allowed to take photos and videos. And that should state to you clearly that there was corroboration, corruptly, by Toronto Community Housing, Toronto Fire, the fire marshal specifically, and the Toronto Police to falsely accuse myself, Mr. Kevin Clark, of a crime that they knew I could not have committed, a crime that did not happen, because they knew that I have a reputation of bringing results and succeeding in all I do. And they knew that I would have shown that iron contractors who are from other countries, who have no experience in electrical work in Canada, or use maintenance staff to fix electrical, was the cause of that fire. And that is why housing did not give me temporary housing. That is why the police banned me from the housing area, and that is why the police keep tracking me to get me out. And they were hoping that I died on the street. So in turn, they endangered my life and the life of an animal, and they obstructed justice by preventing me from going back to the alleged crime scene to show this documentation. And the courts wish that if we end up back here, you will see exactly this. I guarantee you, because I was in that fire, you will see exactly this. That's this fire in Toronto Community Housing, which was caused by a faulty electrical outlet and some type of lithium batteries or electrical being put in and that exploded. We asked the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice of Canada to intervene as the people of this country to allow me back into my home to show you this documentation and to see that we right this wrong, even though it cannot be right because I died so much times to save the life of this animal. They're saying I deliberately set a fire to kill my 2 beautiful cats, Mr. Wonderful and Miss Cat, who I've had for over 5 years. I ran in and rescued this dog, who I rescued from abuse less than 4 or 5 months earlier. And then I pressed the fire alarm to inform the fire department and ran to the building to save the homes and life of everyone else. And Toronto Fire, Toronto Police, and Toronto Community Housing want you to believe that I did this for the motive of killing my 2 cats, because even though I was a cat lover They seem to say I've converted to being a dog lover. And I had to murder the cats, set my place on fire, deliberately, to save this dog. And I did it with a cigarette. From the living room, I end up sparking the fire in the bedroom through a closed door. Imagine